Let's get over to Josh Schaefer, who has more on the betting interest that we could expect in this year's tournament. Josh, what do we got?
Sean, I got to ask you first, who you got for a winner?
I didn't do my bracket
You
yet.
haven't done your bracket
you're
yet?
going to be helping me after the show.
All right.
So
I got
you have some work
UCLA.
to do.
I got UCLA going the distance.
Interesting.
We'll have to see. Could be fun.
Maybe
Jeff out in
I'll
LA
say
probably likes UCLA as well as my guess.
That would have been a good question.
The American Gaming Association estimates 68 million Americans will be wagering $15.5 billion on this year's men's NCAA basketball tournament. And joining us now to break down that excitement is Carsten Koerl, Sportradar CEO. Carsten, your company has provided gambling data for CBS throughout the tournament for years now. I'm curious how much that has increased the interest for gambling data to be provided during live sporting events.
Well, thank you for having me on the show first. So what we see here is a tremendous increase year on year. So it's a 15 million more Americans which wager on March Madness, which is a great number. Looking now from a turnover perspective, it's not that high like we saw it in the Super Bowl. It's probably $500 million less, but it's fascinating how much that is picking up and how much it's driving people. So that's what we observe.
And from a broadcast perspective, is the interest growing from, say, a CBS or ESPN, all the different broadcasters to sort of have odds readily available? Because that's something that Sportradar provides, right, is sort of that data, that live data that helps put those odds up.
We see that is shifting slowly into the live space. So we would love to see it faster, but we are picking up with 5 percentage points year over year, which is a great achievement. If we're comparing this with the worldwide numbers, there is a lot of runway here that this is shifting more into the live direction. Currently, we speak about 33 to 35% proportion live betting. And we see in Europe around about 80% in the mature markets. So there is still a lot of runway there. And we heavily believe that this is putting more of the emotion into the wagering. And that's the future of sports betting in the US.
Do you think we get to that 80% number in the US of people betting during the game rather than placing a bet before the game?
I think we will get into a 70, 75, might not be a 80, it will take a while, but we saw that development in most of the European markets for the last 15 years. So tendency-wise, we get over the 70% with live.
And your company reported earnings earlier this morning, revenue up for the quarter, up 35%, U.S. betting revenue up over 100%. I'm curious what kind of growth you're seeing in the U.S. We know expansion's been pretty big here over the last couple of years with different states coming online.
Yeah, the real value driver for us is live betting. We have a much higher participation from a revenue share for whatever is live. So whatever happens here is counting for us. Of course, seeing new states coming on like Ohio, for example, is great. But the driver here is the live betting. And it is programmatic advertising, where we're pretty successful. We have a growth rate of 140% in that segment. So that lowers the acquisition costs for our clients, and that engine works pretty well.
And I'm curious, having exposure to gambling all across the world, right? What's the difference? Is there a difference with the U.S. market versus what you've seen in Europe? I know the the Europe market's more mature, but is there a difference in U.S. bettors and sort of maybe where they bet or what kind of data they're looking for versus what you see in Europe?
Yeah, the thrilling thing is, look, the US bettor is so much more data-driven, so much more on deep data. And that's where we invest most of our money at the moment in the development. It's computer vision, deep data, level 3 data, however the federations title this. That gives so much more information on the individual player, which you can then relate on the team. And I think that comes from that spirit or that drive of fantasy betting. So you want to deep engage. And translating this into sports betting is creating new product opportunities.
And I know you have partnerships with DraftKings and FanDuel, two sportsbooks we talk about a lot here on our program. How are you planning to sort of grow those partnerships over the next several years?
Intensive work. Look, we want to do the best for our partners. We must make them money. And getting that in connection with the big leagues, that is the challenge. So we're constantly trying to understand what are the products where they're working at the moment best in the market. how can we use technology beside the data to make that happen for both the leagues and FanDuel and DraftKings to get this up and running. And that's an exciting job. So you constantly have to innovate in that space. It's visualization. It is more detailed markets based on the tracking systems, on the data. And that is, I think, what is driving the US.
And Carsten, there was a report out last week about the WWE maybe getting interested in sports betting. And obviously the WWE is known for being scripted and not being a live sport. I'm curious from your perspective as a company that helps people come up with odds and sort of what's a fair price to bet at, right? Would it make sense for the WWE to get into sports betting, or what did you make of that report?
Yeah. I think that's a more tricky one, if you ask me. So it's pretty difficult. If you have something which is maybe a little bit scripted and maybe that belongs to the entertainment, to offer sports betting with fixed odds on it. So that's a pretty tricky challenge.
It'd probably be hard to find the right data on that one, right? Carsten Koerl, Sportradar CEO. Thank you for joining us.